This idea is inspired by a Japanese recipe called tempura, and from a child's point of view it's a bit like playing lucky dip or maybe hide and seek. Now the important part of this recipe is variety, because it's not much fun if everything's exactly the same. So we've got a variety of vegetables, and on this plate I've got some ideas. We've got some mushrooms, some broccoli florets, some carrot batons, baby sweet corn, red pepper, some sugar snap peas and some courgette. But you can vary it depending on whatever you have in your fridge at the moment. The other part of this is to add some surprise, and on this plate I've got some chunks of mild cheddar and some pineapple chunks. These ideally are cut to about the same size as the vegetable, so that it makes it a little bit more of a surprise which bit you're going to get. Then obviously they need to hide, so we're going to coat them in a very, very light batter. So let's make the batter up now. In a mixing bowl I'm going to have just a little bit, just a tablespoon of corn flour mixed in with some olive oil and some water. So mix the corn flour in with a tablespoon of water, and 2 teaspoons of olive oil. Now I'm going to mix that up to make a bit of a paste. Make sure there's no lumps, you want to make sure it's completely smooth. I've got the corn flour, the water and some olive oil in here into a nice thin paste. Obviously we need to thicken that up, and we're going to thicken that up with egg white. But before we do that, because we don't want the egg white to collapse before we cook it, let's get some oil onto heat. Now, quite often I like olive oil, but for this recipe you need to use an oil that has a higher temperature to it, and I'm going to use sunflower oil. This needs to be deep enough, so around about 1 inch or 3 centimetres deep. You'll see why in a minute. So in another mixing bowl, make sure it's dry, I want to separate an egg, so we've just got the white. And again I'm using organic free-range eggs. So it's just the egg white for this because it keeps the batter incredibly light. Then using your trusty hand blender, give it a good blitz. So it's really, really thick. You want to see really stiff peaks. Once you think you've got it thick enough, just see if it stands up on its own, and just for luck give it another quick blitz. It's really thick now, it's standing up really well on its own. So using a metal spoon I'm going to fold this into the first part of the batter. Just put a little bit in to start, because as you stir that in it'll collapse a little bit. And then fold the rest in. Choosing a little bit at a time, do a selection of a real variety of the vegetables. So I'm going to choose 2 or 3 mushrooms. Let's choose 2 or 3 florets, some carrot, red pepper, baby sweet corn, courgette, sugar snap peas, plus 2 or 3 cubes of cheese. And for a real surprise, some of your child's favourite fruits, so how about some pineapple? You're going to fold that in as well, so all the vegetables and the fruit are really nicely coated. Now before we put these into the fat, we need to check that the fat is hot enough and also not too hot. So get a couple of teaspoons and just drop a little bit of the batter into the fat, and you should see it floats. It'll puff up but not really splatter. Okay, so that's perfect. So again, using your 2 teaspoons, Choose a piece from the mix, just drop it into the fat. Now this is a bit of a treat, and it is for one of those days when you really are getting fed up that your child isn't eating enough vegetables. Because it's deep fried, it's not perfect for every day, but it might just get you thinking about other ways that you can make vegetables more exciting. So you can see they puff up, and once they're ready, they should be really easy to turn over. And while they're cooking, you want to just flip them over so the other side cooks as well. So they're golden brown on both sides now. We want to drain off some of that fat. So let's use a little bit of kitchen roll on a plate. Just pop them on there to dry off any excess fat. So as you can see, the kitchen paper has drained the oil off. Let's just pop these onto a little serving plate. And the batter's really, really light, with a little crispy edge. It's nice to serve these with a little dipping sauce. And so I've blitzed up some tomato with some red pepper, so that there's something nice nice and fresh to dip each little lucky dip into. So once you've plated it up, sit down with your little one. Let's see if we can play lucky dip. So I think this one, let's see what this one is. I'm going to try dipping it in. Carrot. That's vegetable tempura.